Hey everybody, it's Party Elite here with another episode of Total Breakdown. This time we're going to see a great battle by the Tower of Hoeth between the Gobble King's High Elves, so he goes in with the name El Capo the Slapo, and the Skaven of my son HW. Check both of these guys out by following the links in the description down below. They are on YouTube and Twitch respectively. We begin of course with talk of composition and deployment, and as you can see the High Elves are trying some pretty crazy stuff in this battle. Led by Tyrion on horseback, we also have a Mage of Life on horseback back here. A Phoenix Guard unit up front alongside these spears to the right over here, and then we've got a pair of Tyrannoc chariots, and the Tyrannoc chariots are of course anti-infantry in melee, but they also have magical ammunition, so that will be quite helpful against the Skaven. Then we've got a unit of Eagle Club Bolt Thrower on either side as well, looking to get some damage done right away, and the Silver Helms with shields to the left are paired with the Silver Helms and the other unit of Silver Helms with shields to the right tucked away in the trees. Then Vanguard deployed all the way on the other side of the field. Should the Skaven bring in some artillery, I think the Illyrian Reavers are hoping to push in and eliminate that potential range support right away. We've got one unit out in the open right now, and this one tucked away in the trees, hidden, ready to pounce at a moment's notice on the Skaven forces. And the Skaven themselves are being led by a Gracier of Ruin, has brought with him a giant bell. We have a front line that consists of 4 units of Skaven slaves, and right behind them we've got these Skaven slave spears on either flank, and then we've got a center that consists of these clan rats on either flank, the Stormbringer with sword and shield, followed by the Death Runners in the center. Behind them we have the Gutter Runners with poison, a pair of Rat Ogres on either flank, we've got the Plague Claw Catapult as well as a Warp Lightning Cannon that are already firing away, the Storm Vermin with halberds in the middle over here, and then Clan Rats with spears, bringing up the rear. Now let's take a look at how this all breaks down. Immediately you can see the Warp Lightning Cannon has got some damage into the Tyrannoc Chariot already, while the Plague Claw Catapult, quite wisely, is firing away at the Phoenix Guard. The Phoenix Guard have Martial Mastery, which means if their health is above 50%, they'll be doing a lot more work. But they're also physically resistant, so you want to use the magical ammunition of something like the Plague Claw Catapult, like so, to try and cause some damage as early as possible. And the Plague Claw Catapult actually gets a lot of work done. That first shot did a fair bit of damage, second shot coming in already, and it's going to do a lot of work as well. You can see the Phoenix Guard here already dropping in health and morale, while the Eagle Club Bolt Throwers are firing away, and the Tyrannoc Chariots on either flank are pushing in to get some early damage in. The Rat Ogres to the left here, you can see, moving into position to intercept and get some help in there for that front line, while to the right here we're going to get a nice clean charge from the Tyrannoc Chariot, just driving right through the Skaven Slave over here, tossing them back, making them catch some air, and again just get a decent bit of damage to that front line, force it to break nice and early, and doing so on both flanks, forcing the opponent to have to think on both flanks and have to respond to both flanks. And you can see on the left here, these Rat Ogres are immediately pushing into the Tyrannoc Chariot. It's not done as much damage to these Skaven Slave Spears as the regular Skaven Slaves have taken from the Tyrannoc Chariot over here, and the Rat Ogres over here have been rather slow to respond, so already sort of coming in from both sides has caused a little bit of trouble for the Skaven. And at the same time you can see the Illyrian Reavers are coming in from the rear, seeing their opportunities to push in towards the very threatening Warp Lightning Cannon as well as the Plague Claw Catapult, while the rest of the High Elf army of course is pushing forward as well. You can see across the board, slowly creeping forward, hoping to get some aggression done and just tear this Skaven army apart. Unfortunately, the Rat Ogres are going to do a lot of work to the Tyrannoc Chariot over there, but you can see the Illyrian Reavers here very confidently charging to the back of the Warp Lightning Cannon. Very good call there. The Warp Lightning Cannon is anti-large and armor-piercing, so trying to eliminate that, but you can see the Gutter Runners already firing away, getting some of that poison in here. We also have the Clan Rat Spears right there, so a very dangerous situation to be in, but the Rat Ogres at the same time are forcing these Tyrannoc Chariots away, while the Silver Helms with their shields, as well as Tyrion, are pushing in now to try and take care of that clump. The Illyrian Reavers back here, meanwhile, see this beautiful opening into the backs of the Plague Claw Catapult crew. They're probably going to try and dive in, while up front you can see the Silver Helms have managed to push in and eliminate this unit of Skaven Slaves, while these Silver Helms with shields managed to push in and more or less eliminate these Skaven Slaves with spears. Of course, the Rat Ogres were able to respond finally and did close the gap to the Silver Helms with shields, so they are now forced back into safety because the Rat Ogres will cause a fair bit of damage to those Silver Helms should they stay engaged long term. At the same time now you can see finally the Illyrian Reavers are pushing in for that rear charge. They're going to shut that Plague Claw Catapult down more or less right away, while over here the Warp Lightning Cannon has completely shattered. So beautiful work there. Great risk taken by the Illyrian Reavers there. They have been made to rout though, so they are going to pull away into safety, while to the right you can see as well we've got that Plague Claw Catapult completely given up as the Tyrannoc Chariot as well is pushing in for a nice charge into the backs of these Clan Rats with spears. Beautiful work over there, just eliminating one unit and causing a lot of damage to the other one. Look at that morale drop on these Clan Rats with spears. They do not want to stick around, and artillery now has been completely taken care of, while to the left over here you can see we've got these Rat Ogres that have given up on the fight thanks to Tyrion, as well as the Silver Helm with shields getting their beautiful charge in there. The Tyrannoc Chariot on the left as well is willing to fight once more. And now Tyrion is actually able to dive into this massive clump, and it's a bit of a dangerous clump for him to be in, of course. We have the Stormvermin with halberd, and we also have these clan rats with spears. He is on horseback, so he is, of course, large right now, so he has to be very careful in that situation. Meanwhile, up front, you can see all of the Skaven units are pushing forward. There's no reason for them to sit back anymore. They have to close these gaps. You can see the Rat Ogre trying to close the gap on these Silver Helms over here, and at the same time, we've got Regrowth going down, trying to keep those guys alive with their physical resistance buff, as well as the replenishment of health, and both units of Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers are turning around to try and fire at those Rat Ogres. They are a large unit. They'll be a nice, easy set of pickings. They're also armor piercing, these Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers, so hoping to get some damage in there and eliminate that unit. While over here you can see Tyrion again in this very precarious situation, pops Feint and Riposte to try and keep himself alive, bumping his melee defense, his physical resistance significantly, his melee attack as well, but beautiful move over here, bringing in Sunfang and absolutely devastating this unit of Stormvermin with halberds. Those guys took an absolute beating. They get burnt to a crisp. Health drops to about 50% more or less instantaneously, and as a result of that, morale is going to drop significantly as well. And we also have these clan rats with spears over there. They took a little bit of collateral damage, so their morale is going to drop significantly as well. And then more importantly, perhaps, is the creation of space that's happening over here. Tyrion needs to get out of this situation, and Sunfang is going to give him the space to do just that. So take a look at that. Both of these units begin to drop in morale significantly. We're going to have those clan rats with spears wavering, while over here we actually have the Tyrannok Chariot in a terrible position as the Gutter Runners with poison are firing away. And we have the Stormvermin with sword and shield, as well as these Skaven slaves over here closing the gap. Unholy Clamor does go down to keep leadership up, and that actually makes these guys stick and fight. Great move over there, but over here you can see a terrible situation for these poor, unfortunate spearmen. They get piled upon by the clan rats, or rather the Skaven slaves, as well as the Death Runners. We've got more Stormvermin with sword and shield coming in, as well as these clan rats, but we've got over here these Silver Helms moving in to try and provide some support. They can get a nice rear charge and maybe eliminate some of these units if they can get that morale damage in there. So take a look at this beautiful charge coming in from sort of a rear flank maneuver, trying to just throw as many of these rats in the air as possible, toss them around, get that morale damage in, particularly to some of these more weak-willed units such as the Skaven slaves or the clan rats. So great work there, great vision, great response time as well, waiting for all of these guys to clump up and just take a look at that morale damage as these guys very quickly now are willing to sort of give up on the fight. The Silver Helms unfortunately do get stuck into combat a little bit, so they have to pull away quickly, but you can see we have some wavering units in there, while over here the Tyrannok Chariot has completely fallen, while the Phoenix Guard now are trying to get involved as well. But take a look at these Silver Helms take that beating from the Gun Runners with poison. Their health is dropping, their morale is dropping as well, and now the Phoenix Guard are going to face the wrath of some Skaven slaves, as well as these Stormvermin with sword and shield. Meanwhile, Tyrion over here has been standing still, not doing too much. His popped Foe Seeker needs to keep pushing away, needs to get away from this massive clump, but he will take his chances against the Grey Seer of Ruin, I think, while over here we get another charge from these Silver Helms. Beautifully done once more into that clump. Great cycle charging again, just trying to get these guys to completely break and shatter. And finally, you can see this time these Skaven slaves are actually willing to give up on the fight. They're wavering right now, but very close to routing. And off in the distance over here as well, you can see Tyrion is having a bit of a field day against some of these clan rats with spears and the Grey Seer of Ruin as well. But unfortunately, with the Stormvermin with halberd there as well, and just the sheer number of rats, he's in a bit of a trouble spot. So in come these Silver Helms with shields to provide some support. And at the same time, you can see off in the distance we have these Tyrannok Chariot coming in as well. So take a look at this beautiful rear charge, tossing these guys around, and the chariots don't think that that's enough, so they push in as well with some more rear charging, trying to free Tyrion up over here. So great work over there, sort of a 1-2 punch, getting a lot of these guys to completely rout and give up on the fight, while over here we have a rather useless spell, to be perfectly honest. I believe it's called Scorch. I don't even know its name. I don't use it that often. Unfortunately, doesn't do too much. We also have Warp Lightning coming down, and it's just not going to do too much to this clump, trying to reduce the health of the Phoenix Guard. Again, they are physically resistant, so using magic to hit them is a good idea, but neither Scorch nor Warp Lightning work that well. Warp Lightning especially when there's not a giant clump, so unfortunately not doing too much hurt there, but I think just short of reducing, or rather removing, Martial Mastery over here. And you can see the Grey Seer of Ruin is maybe pushing forward there. The Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers meanwhile firing away, trying to take down that Grey Seer of Ruin, while Tyrion as well is trying to get away from this situation over here, while the Mage of Life is actually in a really tough spot, being fired upon by these Gutter Runners with poison, taking a lot of damage, dropping in health, and so pulling away into safety, while you can see now we've got this massive clump pushing into the back of the Phoenix Guard after having taken care of those spears, doing a great deal of damage to health and to morale. And you can see finally Martial Mastery has dropped. The Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower over here firing away into this clump, hoping to cause some morale damage, hoping to cause some fear, so to speak, through artillery fire, but it's just not enough. The Phoenix Guard are falling very quickly. The Death Runners are doing a lot to reduce their armor. Again, it's a reduction of 50%, so massive massive work happening over there. Over here as well, we've got the Stormbringer with Halberd now being taken care of by that rear charge from the Silver Helms, and Tyrion as well getting a lot of work done, while in the center you can see the Phoenix Guard are dropping completely. They've given up on the fight. Earthblood came in to try and keep them alive, but unfortunately they're fully surrounded and they're being eliminated one shot at a time. Back here, meanwhile, you can see the Eagle Club Bolt Thrower has been hit by the Warp Lightning, and unfortunately with the Grey Seer of Ruin pushing in, these Eagle Club Bolt Thrower crew members are going to have a terrible time. Over here as well, the Eagle Club Bolt Thrower is very close to being shut down. We've got this beautiful charge coming in from the Skaven Slave Spears, but good call actually abandoning the equipment and falling back into safety, making sure that the equipment doesn't get completely shut down. These Gutter Runners now firing away at the Mage of Life, still trying to get rid of that magical support, while you can see the Terranok Chariot responds by charging right through these Clan Rats and then pushing further into these Gutter Runners with poison. In the middle over here, meanwhile, you can see a terrible situation for the High Elves. So it's almost like the script has been flipped. You can see Tyrion over here desperately fighting, hoping to get some assistance in from Sunfang once more. A beautiful clump to use it on as well. So great call there, great awareness, seeing this massive clump and seeing the opportunity to use Sunfang. And again, doing a lot of work there, reducing health and morale significantly. And you can see we're seeing a couple of these units begin to waver. Morale is dropping. They're going to start routing now. So 3 routes there from the Skaven. So good call there. But again, if you look at the balance of power and you just look at the situation across the field, the High Elves are in a terrible situation compared to how they started this battle. They're completely outnumbered and they're completely outgunned as well. Tyrion now trying to stick in there and trying to get some more of these units to completely rout or shatter, while over here you can see the Rat Ogres closing the gap on the Terranok Chariot and actually destroying one and trying to destroy another one over here, and the Terranok Chariot trying to get away, trying to pull away into safety, but unfortunately not a good situation for them to be in at all. We've got the Silver Helms back here pushing in, but they get countercharged by the Rat Ogres again, holding them in place, reducing the effectiveness on their charge. Beautifully done there. Again, great awareness from the Skaven. Tyrion, meanwhile, is trying to take care of the Death Runners over here, as well as the Stormbringer with Sword and Shield, while back here we've got these Phoenix Guard, as well as these Illyrian Reavers, now moving down over here to try and provide some assistance and take care of these clumps over here. The Mage of Life was eliminating this unit of Skaven Slave with Spears, again, trying to systematically remove multiple units and maybe cause a mass rout among the Skaven, but you can see, of course, they need a little bit of assistance, or rather, she needs a little bit of assistance coming in from the Illyrian Reavers and the Phoenix Guard. The Grey Seer of Ruin, meanwhile, is trying to close the gap into, I think, the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower crew over here. Well, over here, these guys managed to get back into their equipment. They turned around and were firing away for a little while, but maybe they came back a little prematurely. As you can see, the Rat Ogres are coming in to absolutely obliterate them. The poor chap there who gets absolutely broken in half. I mean, at least he didn't feel it, I suppose, but the Rat Ogres there pushing very intelligently and just shut down that Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower more or less right away. The Grey Seer of Ruin, again, you can see moving in to eliminate this unit of Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower. Though they are just the crew, they can, of course, return to the equipment and start causing some damage across the board. Tyrion as well over here, you can see in a bit of a trouble spot once more, while again we see Scorch being used to try and eliminate the Phoenix Guard over here, but just barely missing the Phoenix Guard, actually, because of how slim that casting range and cone actually is. I don't think the Phoenix Guard took any damage from that cast. Off to the left, meanwhile, you can see these Skaven units have largely been taken care of, so very well done by the High Elves over there. In the center, again, you can see this Grey Seer is just chasing down the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower crew, while to the right, that Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower crew has been completely slaughtered, absolutely destroyed. Tyrion in the center again in a terrible situation as more of these units are able to just pile in. You can see though the Terranok Chariot here trying to be a bit of a hero. In comes Warp Lightning, but it completely misses, and the Terranok Chariot pushes through, and again getting these rats to catch some air. Great work over there, pushing with the rear charges and actually allowing Tyrion to be free and actually escape this very dangerous situation. You can see he pops Foe Seeker and is trying to push away, and the Terranok Chariot as well trying to push away so that it doesn't get bogged down, fully surrounded and destroyed. The Terranok Chariot is very important right now. Tyrion, you can see though, dives into the Grey Seer, who pops Unholy Clamor again, trying to keep leadership up, trying to keep vigor up as well, but he has taken a fair bit of damage from that charge from Tyrion, so good job over there by Tyrion. And you can see a lot of these units are actually chasing after the Terranok Chariot still. We've got these Rat Ogres now pushing in towards Tyrion, causing again a dangerous situation for him. He tries to creep away into safety and pop stand your ground just to make sure his melee defense and leadership stays up, but he does start to get fully surrounded over here. The Death Runners got that hit in, and we also have the Stormbringer with Sword and Shield now piling in. We've got the Grey Seer pushing in, so a dangerous situation once more for Tyrion as these Rat Ogres push through as well, but he's actually trying to bait this clump. Take a look at this beautiful baiting maneuver there, but he's taking a lot of damage. In comes Sunfang once more, again hoping to get that tremendous amount of damage through, so a huge risk once more, but absolutely worth it. He sees that gap and he falls back, and meanwhile the Tyrannoc Chariot as well pushes in at the same time to try and get some nice charges in, but unfortunately that Grey Seer turns around and pushes into the Tyrannoc Chariot as well, holding them in place. So Tyrion now needs to move in, or needs to pull back into the Grey Seer of Ruin, get some damage in there. The Stormvermin with Halberd, though, respond by surrounding him, or trying to surround him. He manages to just barely get away. The Grey Seer of Ruin has taken a lot of damage, and over here you can see we've got the Illyrian Reavers again trying to pull in, but the Rat Ogres push back with a beautiful countercharge, again just stopping those cavalry units in their tracks. Wonderful to see that awareness. Response time was basically nothing, reducing the effectiveness of that charge significantly. So great work there, using those Rat Ogres to perfection, and Tyrion here is being beat down by the Stormvermin with Halberds as well as the Grey Seer of Ruin, but he does use Riposte, or Feint and Riposte, to increase his melee defense significantly, and of course his physical resistance bump is going to help a lot as well. Over here you can see we've got the Silver Helms also dodging that use of Scorch again. I'm not a big fan of Scorch, especially against thin lines like that, and Tyrion again looking for an opportunity to get out of here. I think the orders are coming repeatedly to try and pull out through these gaps, but again that surround is just pushing through, that incessant surround. He just barely manages to, I think, find gaps here and there and is trying to pull away. And over here as well, you can see the Grey Seer of Ruin is pushing in towards the Tyrannoc Chariot. But take a look at this. Off in the distance over here, the Eagleclaw Bolt Thrower crew managed to return to their equipment, and they're now turning around and opening fire at that Grey Seer of Ruin. And that is why you need to shut down artillery crew completely, once and for all, when you get the chance. However, the balance of power is still significantly in favor of the Skaven, and you can tell exactly why. The High Elves are very outgunned and very outnumbered. It's 20 against 377. The Tyrannoc Chariot tries to do a courageous rear charge into the Grey Seer of Ruin over here, but the Grey Seer of Ruin doesn't really care all that much. Once more, Tyrion finds himself completely surrounded in a very dangerous situation. Health is extremely low. Morale is extremely low. About 25% of each left. The Tyrannoc Chariot pushes through to try and create, I think, some space for Tyrion. He pops Stand Your Ground, helping his leadership significantly. Of course, helping his melee defense as well, but he needs to get the hell out of there. It's a terrible situation for him to be in. A terrible spot, and there's no support coming from anywhere. There's that Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower Fire providing some morale damage to this clump, but you can see we finally get some magical support from there. Earthblood comes through, and now Tyrion finds the gap as well, and he's able to get the hell out of there. So good work over there. A very, very dangerous situation. Earthblood has helped a little bit. He decides to come back around for a nice charge into the Grey Seer of Ruin and manage to actually drop Skaven leadership. So again, a huge risk, but it is paying off. Of course, you can see morale dropping across the board for the Skaven. The Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower Fire is going to help as well. Being under artillery fire is a huge drop to morale. Tyrion again uses Foe Seeker trying to get out of here, but take a look at this. We've got two of these units routing now, very low on health as well, so they might as well be completely off the field. The Mage of Life dives in as well to get a nice rear charge. The Rat Ogres as well now routing. We've got over here the Stormvermin with Sword and Shield routing. Another use of Sunfang coming in as well, hoping to eliminate this giant clump of Stormvermin with Sword and Shield. A solid cast. They're dropping health and morale, and you can see more routes coming through. Tyrion and that Mage of Life worked absolute magic there, along with some support back here from the Eagleclaw Bolt Thrower. But take a look at this clever move here by these Gutter Runners of Poison. They're moving in to try and shut down that artillery support, but in response we have these Illyrian Reavers moving in to protect that very same unit of Eagleclaw Bolt Thrower. So beautifully done there. Great interception, great thinking from the Skaven though to try and move in and eliminate the Eagleclaw Bolt Thrower, but unfortunately far too little, far too late, and you can see now the balance of power is shifting significantly. It is now in favor of the High Elves, and returning sort of to the tone of the first act where the High Elves were doing quite well. And over here you can see, unfortunately, the cavalry unit has given up. These Illyrian Reavers decide not to stick around, and so the Eagleclaw Bolt Thrower ultimately is exposed to the offense of the Gutter Runners with Poison. We've got the Tyrannoc Chariot pushing in to try and provide some support, but of course they do get slowed down. They get those charges in there, and they're quite effective, but they might, again, just be far too little, far too late. As you can see, we've got the Eagleclaw Bolt Thrower giving up on the fight. They are routing. We've got Tyrion moving in as well, trying to break these Gutter Runners with Poison, but unfortunately, those Gutter Runners managed to actually completely eliminate the Eagleclaw Bolt Thrower unit. They do decide to drop their flags and give up on the fight, even though Tyrion comes in to their rescue. Is just not enough. So as the Gutter Runners with Poison fall, you can see once more that balance of power has evened out, but it's just a matter of 4 Elven units against almost 300 rats. So a very interesting situation, while over here you can see the Mage of Life is chasing after this unit of Stormvermin with Sword and Shield, I think hoping to get these guys to shatter completely so they don't return. They are Stormvermin, they're not some lowly clan rats or Skaven slaves, so trying to make sure these guys completely give up on the fight. And as far as the Mage of Life can see, there's also the Stormvermin with Halberd unit coming, but hasn't yet seen these Death Runners as they are creeping in, I think hoping to get a decent surround and shut that Mage of Life down completely. As the Mage of Life sees these guys coming in though, decides quite wisely to turn around and get out of there. A good idea there, trying to get these guys to completely shatter, but this is a dangerous situation to be in, and so the Mage of Life, quite wisely again, just decides to pull back into safety. Off to the side over here, you can see Tyrion and the Tyrannoch Chariot sort of regrouping with that Mage of Life. The Mage of Life decides to come over here as Tyrion and the Tyrannoch Chariot push in towards these Gutter Runners. These Gutter Runners are very low on health, they're very low on morale, they are currently routing. They just need a couple more charges into their backs and they will completely shatter, or at least they might be driven off the edge of the field. Again, it's a matter of systematically removing your enemy's capabilities, and especially this late in the battle, it's also a matter of maybe instigating a mass rout. So just keeping the chase on over here. Of course, the Tyrannoch Chariots will get slowed down because of snare nets, but it's not like these Gutter Runners are equipped to protect themselves, as that these horses kind of slowly amble and try to close the gap. They're actually doing a terrible job of closing the gap over here, but they keep the rats scared, so that counts for something. Just hoping to, again, just run that one rat over, 2 rats over. They're slowly falling. The gap is slowly being closed. There's a third, but as you can see, the Gutter Runners here are being taken care of, and now off in the distance, you can see all of these Skaven units. They have clumped up. They're turning around, but so many of them are already wavering. The enemy is so far away, but they're wavering. They're so low on morale. There's nothing that can be done here. Might be a good idea to stay and wait and replenish some vigor at least, but there isn't much that the Skaven can do except for get some beautiful charges in. The balance of power is quite even, but you can see as the gap is closing, the Rat Ogres give up on the fight. We've got Clan Rats giving up. We've got Shatters going on. We've got these beautiful charges coming in, but it's quite clear that the High Elves have taken the day. A hilarious 3-act battle where the High Elves won the first, the Skaven won the second, and the High Elves ultimately won the one that matters most at the end. The willingness of the rats to come back repeatedly was showing the value of quantity on the battlefield in good Skaven style, but ultimately it was the superior quality of the 4 or so remaining High Elves that took the day. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep sending in the battle replays. I do think it's one of the best ways to learn, and it's always nice to highlight such amazing battles from the community. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the battlefield.